All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Brian Butler, and I have my counterpart with me, Thomas, who'll be introducing himself here in a moment. We just want to thank you all for joining and watching this posthumously as well. We are members of the Independent Musicians Guild. Our goal is really simple. We want to build a community, and we want to make sure that we're bringing people in. Thomas, you were really heading down the path to get this going. So I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself, talk about the vision that kind of brought us here, and we'll kind of go through kind of next steps of what we see for the guild and overall kind of the vision for who, what, where, when, and how. I'll let you take over.
All right. There we go. Hello, thanks for joining. I'm Thomas Crawford. As Brian had shared, this was kind of an idea that I'd come up with a couple of months ago, just a little bit about myself. I've been in the music industry in some fashion or another for probably close to 30 years and doing everything from playing bass, guitar, doing a lot of like actual bands. The last few years has been pretty heavily into like artist development and management, particularly with the bands that I was a part of. And last year I had started my own artist development and management company called Darkstream Music Management. And the main reason why I started that was while I was being a musician, I started noticing that, so I actually came from the tech world, worked for some Fortune 500 companies, and I wanted to take my passion of music and my skills in tech and go into the music industry. And what I was finding out was there really isn't, I guess, much structure and organization or strategy as it relates to a lot of the things in the music industry, a lot of predatory practices, a lot of gatekeeping. And I just didn't like that. And I also started consulting some bands for a couple of years and started realizing that, I have the skills to help develop and grow artists, but also having this vision of changing the music industry in some fashion or another. And then after a while, in some discussions with various colleagues and mentors, come up with the idea of creating an organization that is specifically geared toward independent musicians and helping them grow. And like the main reason I was doing it for my own company was I, again, wanted to change the music industry, wanted to break down those walls and the gatekeeping and advocate against predatory practices. And I realized it's a lot better to do it with a larger community than trying to do it with just individual artists and bands. So thus the Independent Musicians Guild. And a little bit about my musical side of things, like as I shared, currently the vocalist for a band I started this year called Istibus. I also play guitar and contribute with a band called Seven Factor. And formerly I was in System 6 and also a band called Fleischkrieg. And yeah, that's kind of the musical, like front-facing musical ventures that I was a part of. But in a lot of those bands, I was doing a lot of work in the background, doing the, kind of the strategies and the management of things. Whenever we would go and play shows, I was the guy booking the shows, was setting up and organizing all the tech and the tech side of things, setting up the rosters and the tech writers and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, so taking all of those skills, putting it into my development company, and then now into this. I'm going to kick it back over to Brian. Share a little bit more about yourself, sir.
Yeah. So Brian Butler, I'm actually the VP of Marketing and Communications for IMG. I am basically taking my 17 years of digital marketing experience and musical passion and trying to combine them as much as I can. So I actually lead a international agency that runs big international clients, KPMG, Gaia Yoga, AT&T, a bunch of different e-commerce brands. And I've done music work with other labels on the side where through my company, World Wander Media, I actually have helped different labels do artist promotions, YouTube pushes, new music video launches. I have a partner that I've worked with and a collaborator out in LA that is actually currently the basically he hosts a jazz catalog for Universal Music Group. Wonderful gentleman who has really introduced me to a lot of really cool stuff that he's been doing. And through that partnership, I was able to really work with a lot more musicians and artists in promoting and advertising and helping artists to really kind of promote themselves and get their campaigns launched. One of the most recent ones we did was actually for the band Requiem Corps that AJ runs, where one of our first singles we launched together had about 30,000 streams in the first 30 days due to a really aggressive YouTube campaign. We averaged less than 1 cent per view. And we also had a really aggressive Spotify campaign where we were able to get content curators and playlist curators to list us. And for a long time, we had really good growth on that, which was great. And we didn't have much money to do it. It was a pretty shoestring budget. So what I bring to the table is I'm trying to help make sure that people can see the guild. I currently am a guitar player and a drummer, outside of my day job. So the goal for me is to be able to work with people, help them understand kind of what it is that we do, why we're doing what we do, and also be able to use my marketing talents to get speakers in and be able to put together some clinics, those kinds of things that we feel like are going to be really beneficial for a lot of people as a whole. All right, Thomas, I'll let you talk about our mission.
The mission here at IMG is we're dedicated to supporting musicians in achieving their artistic dreams, mainly by fostering community, collaboration, and creativity. We're going to empower artists to navigate the music industry successfully. Kind of like I shared, I want to break down the barriers of what a lot of independent musicians face. We're in an interesting time right now where there's never been a better time for independent artists to be extremely successful. And there's a lot of antiquated ways in which the old music industry side of things, traditional record labels and companies like that, they're slowly going to the wayside. And our vision is basically to ensure that every musician has access to the resources and tools that they need in order to be successful. And basically make a living doing what you love. So yeah, why we exist, building a community like this, we're going to help empower independent musicians, providing resources, support, community. Like we said, we believe that every artist deserves an opportunity to be able to succeed and do what it is that they love and make a comfortable living at it. We want to provide a community and resources in which people can make sustainable careers even long after their career are over with. Mainly making sure that our artists in our community are able to do what they love and not be taken advantage of.
So with this, the whole idea of empowering musicians and making this really collaborative, the biggest thing here that we're trying to look at is how do we put together a network where we can have people be able to share different access points, share different creative needs, come together if you have certain things you're looking to learn. And by using this network, you can actually develop relationships and bring everybody kind of to the table. And I come, like I said, from kind of the business world. I was a real estate agent for a while, was a mortgage broker for a while, insurance broker for a while before I got into marketing back in years and years ago. And one of the biggest things you can do is network, right? Like I've come to a position where most of my business relationships have been through people I've met and who've referred me to other people. They're like, hey, you got to meet this guy. And those kinds of relationships are super important for musicians, because whether it is a production person, whether it's a graphic designer, whether it's an engineer, whether it's someone who is building samples, whether it's someone who is trying to get a gig, most of the booking that I've seen done here in Vegas has been through really tight-knit communities where people have proven their gusto, and because they prove that they can come through in a pinch, they can sell tickets, they get called back for the next show. I can't tell you how many shows I've been a part of because one of the people we work with, one of our mouthpieces, is a really great networker. He absolutely works the room. He goes to other people's shows. He's trying to figure out who booked the show. And one of those things where like that networking event has to be so strong. So our aspirations here are really to build something where if you're part of the guild, you have a large network of users that are joining the platform, that are coming in, that are making music that you can point out and say, hey, I need help with this. Who can you refer, or who knows who, right? it's a big part of kind of the next step. So right now we're pretty small, right? This is our grand opening. This is essentially our start. So our goal is to be able to have a in-person event in Las Vegas, at least to start with. I think the goal we had originally had was July. We're looking at June, or August, just to make sure that we have enough time to build our member base to be able to justify an in-person event. But these in-person events are going to be pretty significant. We're trying to make sure that we have some really good speakers coming in, touring artists, label supporters, artist supporters, people who are coming in to do clinics. That's a really big part of what we're looking to do as far as being able to provide local community support. And so our milestones that we're looking at, and I'm just going to be, flat out, bold and blunt. We need members so that we can make it to where we can attract different vendors to give you discounts. And we can attract different people to offer, for example, health insurance or medical insurance or financial advisors. You have to have a large enough member base where that person, whether it be a promoter, whether it be, neural DSP, we're going to ask them to come in and give a discount or whatever, right? There has to be enough members to justify that person's time, right? It has to be who is the audience we're bringing in. So what we're doing is we're trying to build an international base that allows us to be able to say, hey, we have 8,000 people in the Portland and West Coast market. We're going to hold a clinic, and we have an 8,000 person member base that we can use to make sure this clinic is successful. That allows us to go into bigger artists and bigger companies and be able to draw them in. And by doing that, it allows us to offer incentives, make sure that people who are paying members can get access to these events at no cost or lower cost. And then for regular members who are the kind of the free basic members, those will be really the bread and butter. Those are everybody who is experiencing and working within the network. So the goal here that we look at for our membership, I think probably 90% to 99% of everybody who joins the guild is going to be a free member. And that is just one of those situations where you're going to be able to come in, join us for free events like this, have access to a free Facebook group where those people who are in the guild will be able to communicate and have good conversations. Community access, and then we're also going to have resources that we're working with, different directories. Some of those are going to be sample libraries. Some of those are going to be SOP guides for how to do something, how to get into a sync license, how to get your song put on Spotify, different resources of that nature. As we start getting into kind of the second tier, we call it our Founder Pro. It's $10 a month. Through our website. It is a subscription. Then that allows us to really bring in, one, as a Founder Pro or Elite member, you do get free access to the in-person events, which is going to be really exciting. Access to the paid member guild or the Elite member guild on Facebook, and then access to exclusive discounts through partner providers. We actually already have a couple of studios and producers who have offered, I think it's 10 to 20%, depending on the producer, off of their recording services, mastering services. We're actually going to be offering, ideally, we're looking at getting different vendors to be able to offer 25% or 30% off discounts to members. And then also different training assets and different events available for training for pro members. And then the Founder Elite, again, that same kind of benefits of the Pro, but those are going to be bigger discounts, early access to local chapter events. And the goal is to be able to have the ability for local and hosted chapter events where you get the ability to host your own events in your local area. So if you're in San Antonio or if you're in Nashville, to be able to have access to the full network, be able to have access to the people, to leverage the brand, to be able to have your own hosted event locally. And then also for artists who need support and they're active in their recording career, that allows us to provide the one-on-one mentoring and coaching, whether that be marketing needs through my expertise, or whether that be more for brand growth and band growth or artist growth through Thomas's relations. Those are some of the baselines that we're looking at with this. The educational events, one of the big things we're looking at here is really to provide a good, diverse opportunity. So we have a couple of people we've already talked with that are looking at coming in doing workshops for us. Different topics include everything we talked about, like sync licensing is one of the things we talked about. I have a speaker who's offered to come in and talk about touring writers, how to get booked on different tours, what it's going to cost to be able to get added to some tours, especially for tours where there's a buy on. We also have a couple of national artists that are actively touring that have offered to introduce me to some potential other members that we can speak with. The other things we're looking at are clinics, as well as songwriter sessions and so on. So these are just some of the events and educational courses we're looking at bringing in. Thomas, you want to talk about the guest speakers that we have coming in, or at least conceptually? We don't have anybody we can publicly say yet, but we have some pretty cool ones lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you kind of said, we're looking at a wide range of speakers and topics. Some of the folks that we're talking with, like, we're not talking about like the local guy, the local sage or whatever. Like, one of the people I'm speaking with has played the world in front of thousands of people, has opened up for Metallica, things like that. Another person that we're speaking with, they're a front man for a band that's been around for more than a decade. Again, playing actively touring.
Yeah.
Most of them are actively touring. Some of our other folks that we're talking with, I was speaking with someone, I started a conversation with someone yesterday who's really big in the NFT space, understanding Web3 and how NFTs can work in the space. And then I have a big list of people that I'm wanting to target with, dealing for everything from podcasting, content, festivals, radio, the whole 9 yards, but actually getting industry recognized people that you could possibly get the chance to actually interact with directly, rather than just seeing a video or watching a podcast. Being able to join an event where you're going to be able to shake hands with somebody and ask questions to somebody that has been in this industry and is pretty renowned in it,
which is pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we're not looking at just metal. Like, we happen to be some, kind of heavier metal guys, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what this group is for. A little known fact, I actually just put out a pop album last 2 August ago, I guess, with a local singer-songwriter out of Portland, right? So I've done pop artists that I've worked with. I've worked with hip-hop artists. I worked with rap artists personally. I have a lot of different genre fluid friends that are really kind of in those different areas. And it's super important for a community to have more than just one voice, whether that be metal, whether that be rock, country, classical. And so we definitely want to encourage people who maybe have a specific genre, whether it be, again, classical, jazz, whether it's folk, whether it's country. You're going to know who the big names are in that industry or in that category. And maybe we have someone from Tennessee that knows, Rhett Shaw, and we can get Rhett into one of our communities to do a training to promote his YouTube channel, right? Those kinds of things are really great, because if you know someone in that community, if you're part of that community, you probably have deeper roots than, say, one of us out here in Vegas. So getting someone who is a local chapter lead to be able to start a local event, use the IMG member base to be able to promote that event, and then be able to bring in a really great speaker or a great educator or a great topic of education about, maybe it's AI and how is AI going to work when it comes to legislation and copywriting, right? That's going to be a big thing for country right now, because everybody and their mother is creating a country album using AI. It just is kind of a thing. So that's the baseline as far as the topic there, right? So as we get into this, whether you're, dealing with, I guess some planned sessions, I should say, the importance of stage writers while touring, picking the best distribution service. This is a big one that Thomas and I have talked a lot about. Music marketing in 2025, kind of knowing the baseline. Are streams worth it, or is building a community the next gold rush? Not leaving money on the table, making sure you are set up to receive all of your money from all your music. This has been a big topic of conversation for AJ and Thomas alike. And then cover bands. Can you actually make money doing that? Can you cover your bills? Being in Vegas, cover bands are a big thing. Mm-hmm. And we all have friends that are really heavy in the cover industry. So some immediate conversation pieces that we have there. Thomas, I want you to kind of give a little bit of vision into the long-term vision of kind of what we're hoping to achieve throughout the memberships that we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we kind of shared with the pro members and stuff like that, we want to offer discounts on services and resources and education. But on top of that, we're really wanting to really focus on like just beyond just music, but how to sustain a living with it. So getting access to things like healthcare, like retirement planning and financial planning, and discounted industry service. Like you said, we've already got a couple of folks from management and music production and so on. And also, at some point we want to, have a presence as it relates to NAMM. And then also a lot of advocacy. We don't really necessarily have this on the deck, but like I said, we want to grow to a point where we actually it's not a you or an I, it's an us, it's a we, and we get to go to the people and demand better living wages for being a musician, getting rid of predatory practices of other people, basically making money off of our art and creativity. We want to advocate for that change into that, where your parents are no longer disappointed in you when you go to college and you go, I want to be a musician, and they just go, well, you need to get a real job. Being a musician can be a real job, and how we can make sure that we're adequately supporting each other in the long term moving forward.
All right. So next steps, before we get into kind of a Q&A or discussion session, really, as we talked about, we have the 3 plans. We have the free, we have the middle tier, founder pro, founder elite. Our goal is to be able to get enough members where we can start hosting some pretty cool events. So let's get together this group. Let's try to bring people together. If you know anybody that's a musician that could use a bit of networking or could use some support, that's our goal, is really kind of make sure that we're bringing people to the table and kind of bringing everybody along with us so we can all succeed.
And before we get into the Q&A, like one of the things we did mention here, or we keep saying founder pro, founder elite. So we've got these prices for the subscription memberships to be fairly reasonable right now. And we want to really reward the folks that come on first and really help us build this community and be a part of it. So we're offering like the founder pricing. And then next year, those prices will likely go up, but whoever comes in at a founder, they get that for life, for being contributors in that. And again, like I said, a lot of this is building a community and networking, and we appreciate your time and support in this. I am going to add a couple of people. Well, maybe.
I just tried to as well.
Oh, it's weird. So sorry, Jay and Kevin, we're not able to add you in to get any questions, but you can. I think you have the ability to raise your hand if you do have a question in the chat. But with that, does anybody have any questions or feedback they'd like to share?
I've got a whole bunch of ideas, but I did have a question.
Yeah. Ideas are great.
Are y'all a 501c3?
Not yet. And also based off of this, I've been doing some research into that. It looks like we're likely going to be a C6, given the type of organization we are. But yeah, like based off of what we're trying to do, it's looking like we're going to be a not-for-profit.
Okay. So, and I don't think currently that means you don't have a way to just do straight donations to your organization.
I think we still have the ability right now where nothing has been formally, like filed and things like that. This is just getting started and just, get that up. We absolutely can take donations. We would just have to set up something in order to do that. And then also one other thing that we haven't fully shared yet, we currently, the web hosting that we're using for the website, the more and more that we're building it, the more we're finding out sadly that it does not have the infrastructure to support what we're trying to do.
Long-term.
So long-term, it's doing the job right now. But as we start to grow, it's not. So we will be migrating to a new web service where those integrations will be a lot more seamless. and be able to do that.
I do have a comment on NFTs.
Oh, let's hear it.
Love it.
What I didn't share in the beginning is I've been on the administrative side of entertainment and venues for since 2000. I've run a ticketing company. I have worked for companies in ticketing, and I'm very involved in the International Ticketing Association.
Really?
Nice.
Very cool.
And I'm on their board. And so I just happen to be between jobs right now. But so I have more than you would think. You probably thought from the beginning, oh, she's a musician, mom, whatever. But
No judgments made.
No.
Not at all.
My experience with NFT and the NFT market is there's a lot of scams.
Mhm.
And they tried to push that through really heavy 5 years ago to make NFTs and saying that it was going to be good for the artists.
Yep.
There were a lot of very bad experiences. And
Not
there's
surprised.
a lot of, I've got some oceanfront property going on out there.
Right.
I love it.
So
That's great.
I just advise a lot of careful consideration
Mhm.
and, caretaking with that.
Yeah. And definitely. And also, like, just to kind of add to that, a lot of the, like, even myself, I'm continuing to learn more and more, and getting into resources, understanding like things that look very legitimate and very helpful. And I've wasted a lot of money to find out that they're not, but I've also found ones that are. One of the things a big aspect as it pertains to like my core values is integrity and honesty. And I want to make sure, when we're going through this, we're proper, like even when we're bringing in service providers and things like that, like making sure that they have the right level of integrity and that they are actively supporting this and they're not doing those types of predatory practices. I will say that, so the person that I'm working with, like, they are directly a musician working directly in NFTs, and just based off of the receipts that she's shared with me, she's making a lot of money from it. So, but there are a lot of, but as you said, there are a lot of scams and things like that to kind of make out, watch out for. So I totally agree with that feedback and advice. And we'll definitely work to do our due diligence to make sure we're providing as honest and accurate information that we can for you guys.
And I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings with something that they're a specialist in. It's just
no, not at all.
Yeah, gotta be careful.
Experience of many has come back. As
I've said for many years, nothing is above scrutiny, including myself.
Yeah.
I'm a person that I love to get feedback. I don't want to say I love to be scrutinized, but I don't mind being questioned and making sure that everything that I'm doing is with integrity and honesty. So, but I love that. And then Aaron, I would love it. I mean, if you would reach out either through our website on the contact form or just email us at img@independentmusiciansguild.org. I would love to set up some time and talk more about like what your expertises are and chat and network.
Yeah, because I have a whole bunch. I have a list as you were talking.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Are you working with these people? Are you working with these people? Have you reached out to this? Because it was just, I love what y'all are doing, and I want to be involved. And
appreciate it. That's great.
So, yeah, I will, because a lot of these I don't want to ask in front of everybody.
Totally.
Okay. Well, and we can after we're done here, and we stop the recording, like we can have an off the air conversation.
Breakout room.
Breakout room.
I guess anything you guys think that you would like to see a training session on, or a topic of discussion that is something you see a lot in the community that you would like to have us maybe bring in an expert about.
Content, 100%.
Oh, like a social media side?
Yeah, a lot of bands running, including myself with ours. It's a struggle to just figure out what we need to be making content on, like how to post it, like how to write it even, like,
Yeah.
Well, people don't know, so it's just kind of like a unknown variable on this.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking with a production company yesterday that's what they specialize in. That they do music videos and stuff like that, but also they work on creating content and content strategies and things like that, and helping grow artists to kind of get in that mindset. And he was also talking about like how we build training resources, training content, not just for workshops, but also videos and e-learnings and things that could be posted that helps musicians to be able to kind of get in that mindset and start building those strategies.
I can tell you, when I did the music video with a band I'm not going to name on here because I don't support them anymore, the shoot was good. What I learned from the director was that he no longer gets hired to shoot music videos. He specifically gets hired to shoot shorts.
Yep.
So people will hire him they'll basically come in, they'll play like 6 different songs, but they'll only play 30 seconds of that song.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll make an entire album worth of shorts in one session. The sizzle reel, exactly. And so they'll do that, and he'll basically have to so in the studio we were at in LA, it's over on Mission, and they had like 6 rooms. They had like the pink room, which was fascinating, by the way, the garbage like street room. This pink room was iridescent pink. It was so bright. And then the other room that we were in was like a space like ship theme. And so he would have 3 pieces of content for like 3 songs in each room, and he would just direct them in those rooms, but it's all 30-second clips. And so like the band is basically rocking out or they're playing. So instead of shooting one music video, all they do is shoot clips, so they can just recreate, recut, and reformat. So that was really interesting. And then the other thing that we have been starting to do with Haddonfield, which I'm a drummer for, Jay and Kevin, who are actually on the call, are actually other members of that band from me. So thank you for coming, guys. We actually live streamed our practice last week for the first time on TikTok. And it was funny because I was talking to my little brother, and my little brother's not a musician, but he is, I would say, an aspiring TikTok star. Like he's got like 2,000 followers, and he like tries to create really funny, relatable content. And that's one of the things he's really passionate about. And, I was just talking to him. He's like, you guys should really live stream your practice. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. So he was telling me like when he live streams, he'll get 16, 20, 30 people on there, and they just shoot the shit on these live streams on TikTok. They just talk, and like it's just like a Gen Z hangout session. And I'm like, wow, that's really fascinating. Mm-hmm. So we decided to try it, and Jay's probably busy, so we probably can't speak to it. But we actually had people who came on. They were watching the stream. It was really fascinating to see how many people saw a random band live streaming, liked and commented, and then we actually had a couple of followers that we gained out of that. But it was really interesting just to like try to live stream it and to see how that process worked, and really just kind of, I would say, be bold and just not be afraid to fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like AJ, we use in-ears for both bands, so we have an audio signal that's a raw, fresh, mixed signal. So what we're going to do for Haddonfield next practice is take that raw signal, plug it into the phone with one of these guys, and that way the phone has the ability to translate that data from our mixing box with all of our in-ears, and then take that data into TikTok. So that's probably our next one. Will probably have better audio. And Jay and Kevin, you can hold me to it to bring this to practice tomorrow.
Yeah, no, Brian. I'm actually driving right now, so I'll make this short. But this is great, by the way. Really enjoying this whole thing. Yeah, no, it came out great. And even something really simple, I know we were joking around about it earlier, but it was really successful. Some strategy that I used yesterday, which was at practice with the cover band I do, 900 views, and without even trying, like nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 900, and it's probably still growing. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I love the live element, and I'm excited to try it again tomorrow.
We'll have to get on the Haddonfield TikTok and tell people to expect it. Probably run a set first, run it, and then before we actually live stream it. But your answer to your point, though, AJ, I think you're right. Though creating content. I mean, I think it's getting better with AI because you can just make a really interesting video and lay over like the audio over it. But I do believe you have to think about your brand identity. and whether that brand identity is kind of friendly to that, right? Like if your brand is really organic and it's like country and you're on stage just singing chords, most of the people that I find myself, at least content wise, coming to is people who are doing covers, and they're standing in front of a mic and they're just singing, and you can hear the rawness of it, and maybe even a cappella, but like you can hear the talent, just raw talent. Even we've had Jay for his band. He's a little plug. He works with Rosa Sharon. They're a cover band here in Vegas. They do Kill Switch Engage covers, and they're actually playing House of Blues next month. And one of the things we had done actually at AJ's studio was have a vocal cover that we did where we had Jay sing the entire song, and then AJ went back in and clipped it into a really nice audio, but then we made different reels out of it so that Jay could use that to promote the show. So if y'all aren't doing vocal covers yet, get in front of a mic, get yourself a little, this is actually a really nice one. It's the Evo 4. The Evo 4 is great. It's a class compliant, iPad friendly recording device. So you can plug in your iPad to the USB-C, no software needed other than like a Logic Pro or GarageBand. It's really handy. So I mean, if you're a vocalist out there and you're watching this, get one of these for $100 on Amazon and make yourself a video where you're doing those covers. It's super worth it.
What other topics or feedback do you have?
Or future discussion topics is always welcome.
I think a lot of bands around here, judging by speaking from experience, is like they have no idea how to get ready to hit a studio or a producer.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good topic.
Like they do not know how to prepare, how to even put a demo together or anything. I feel like a lot of bands, a lot of musicians will benefit from understanding what's expected of them when it's time to go to hit the studio.
For sure.
Yep, that's definitely on the list.
Well, if anybody has anybody who's watching this as well, if you have recommendations for like what you want to have us reach out to an expert or a subject matter expert to look at doing a lesson on, feel free to come into the group with the IMG Music Facebook group, and leave some recommendations. Because if you have either people who that are great subject matter experts, that would be a really good teacher. We'd love to know about it. If you have content, creators that you really like that you want us to reach out to, I know I can already think in my head, there's a couple of really good content creators that talk about visual identity, and that's their whole TikTok. And so if we can bring them in and say, hey, have you be a guest speaker, you can promote your TikTok and, kind of show your expertise. I think there's some really cool, even content creators out there that do a good job teaching that could really be a good subject matter expert we could bring in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and with that, I don't know if we consider this related, but stylists. Men and women both need to know, how do I create my brand? How do I look like my brand? How do I be my brand? And how, even the way you photograph yourself for your content has to do with what's, you don't want to look like a country singer if you're doing goth, know, you just don't want that to happen. And it's a hard thing to figure out, and what your personal brand is.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Do I do long hair? Do I do short hair? Do I use makeup? Do I not use,
Yep.
How does that reflect in what you're doing? So
that visual identity is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So fun story on that topic, and I agree with you. I actually met Thomas through a band called System 6, where I came in as a fill-in drummer. I don't usually do the whole makeup gig. I mean, most of the gigs I do at Haddonfield, I don't wear makeup. But this was a goth, like it was a straight up goth gig. Like one of the people who we were opening for was like the biggest like goth band back from the old days. And they were touring through. And so I came in and sat in on that and played drums for that show, got to meet Thomas. And I did the whole, makeup and the whole like face paint and everything. It was really fun, but it was like identifying, this is a brand. This band has a vision, and I am only a part of the art. I am no one other than a part of the art. Mm-hmm. How do I amplify or register as a piece of that art and not something that's taken away from the art?
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of musicians don't consider their stage presence as art. They consider it as, I'm just up there playing a show. But like, I can tell you with AJ's band, I already have my outfit that I'm going to be using for stage. I already bought a guitar specifically to match the outfit. right? I'm thinking about that in advance. What does the visual of this look like? What does the aesthetic look like? And then even with Haddonfield, we just opened for Seven Dust. We actually were the first metal band to ever play a new venue here. And we chose to go a little more Vegas-y with having like a mask on when I opened the show that had all the iridescence and the lights. But because it's a Vegas show, that's not super, cliche here or, cringy here. Whereas in Tennessee, at like a country club, that would probably be pretty cringe.
But the other thing that as far as content and what you're planning, contracting and understanding contracts and protecting yourself at all levels, all the way from how do you create a contract with your bandmates?
Yep.
Who owns what content? Who owns what equipment?
Yeah.
Split sheets.
Yeah. Your dedication. How often do you rehearse? All the way down
the band account.
Yeah. All the way to your venue contracts.
Yep.
Which can be quite extensive, your recording contracts, and how to understand how to do that and insuring yourself, insuring your equipment. If you have equipment, like as I showed, you got equipment in your house, your rental, that does not cover your musical instruments in your house.
Does it not?
Nope.
No.
You have to have somebody come through and assess your musical equipment because it only covers up to a certain dollar amount, and that's it.
Interesting. So if you have like a prize Les Paul,
if you have more than $500 worth in musical equipment,
that low,
it's really low. Check with your insurance agent. See, he's shaking his head. Yeah, right?
I do. I don't have insurance yet, but one of my really good friends who's a drummer, he has insurance on all of his equipment, no matter where it's at.
Right.
I got insurance on my whole studio over here.
You really?
Yeah.
Smart.
You say, hey, I only pay like $10 a month. It's crazy.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
San Antonio, home of USA.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I've actually, from a contract standpoint, I've actually been a part of an organization called Prepaid Legal Insurance. I think it's now called Legal Shield is the name they adopted like 10 years ago. Technically speaking, I can resell it, but I haven't done that in like 10 years. But that being said, they have a small business rider on their legal plan where I have 3 small businesses. And so I have small business riders on those small businesses so that I can send contracts over, I can get legal over. So anything I do through World Wandered Media, which is my advertising company that also does the music promotion, I run all that. Anything I do at Requiem Corps, Haddonfield, all goes through Worldwide Wandered.
Well, see, even with that, what you're saying, if you have an LLC, that's going to protect you. Somebody comes to a bar that you're playing in, they get injured because they tripped over a cord, or they get injured because they say your music made them dance too hard.
Yeah.
Or you allowed a mosh pit. Then
we definitely do.
If you have an LLC, then they can't come after you personally.
Yep. Yeah, you're not wrong on that. It's funny. I browbeat my bass player because he came to. We did a show, and he's a really fun guy, and he likes to get out in the middle of the crowd with his bass and like mosh. And I'm like, bro, if you hit someone with your bass while you're in the crowd, that is a liability.
No,
I totally browbeat him. I was like, you cannot be doing that. That is a huge issue, dude. Because if we get sued, the club is not going to be like, oh, I'll take that liability. Sure. They're going to pass it on to us if the club gets sued because someone broke their teeth on a bass in the crowd that shouldn't have been there, Which
is another reason to have a band contract.
Mm-hmm. Code of conduct.
Yeah. So who's responsible for who, financially.
Yep.
So where your liability starts and where it ends.
It's a business, we all love music because it's a fun thing to do. But as we've learned from all these lawsuits and how litigious all the record labels are, it's a business all the way. And if you can't get into it with the business mindset, you're going to get taken advantage of. If you're going to go to a show and you're going to drink the entire night, you're a liability to the business. I'm sorry,
And like AJ just said, his USA account, you said, what was that? $10 a month, something like that?
Yep. It's not bad.
That's completely accessible to everyone.
Totally. So, I think my legal shield rider is $20 a month for my attorney. So all my legal stuff that I have is $20 a month. It's nothing. It's great.
Those are some topics I think you should have.
I love those topics. Those are fantastic. Jay, I know you're driving. Did you have any topics that you wanted to add to the topic before we close out the shop? Or as far as discussion points, I did pull. If you joined late, you may have missed that I may have volunteered you to talk about cover and can you do cover, as a living artist in the future. So I may have volunteered you for that in the future. But if you have any questions or any topics you want to have us cover later, feel free to speak up.
Yeah, no topics at the moment, but I just enjoying listening. And yeah, absolutely, we could talk about that with the cover world.
Love it. All right, team. Well, again, this is the Independent Musicians Guild. We are hoping that you're enjoying this topic so far, because we're going to have more of these. And come and join this cool group of folks as we start building a really cool community. And go to our Facebook, sign up for the Facebook, and go to our website and sign up for the free membership so we can actually tell vendors and artists and other people that we actually have a couple members that you should come speak to. And it's going to justify their time a lot better if we have a member base to support it.
Yep. Yes. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate you. See you at the next meeting. Cheers, everyone.